everyone. This is Ms. Viveshna Sharma, associated with Himari Boarding School, and I hope you all have been following my videos on the chapter Reproduction in Plants. In the previous video, we have talked about asexual reproduction, vegetative reproduction by both natural and artificial methods. Then we have also talked about the parts of a flower. That means we were discussing about sexual reproduction in plants. Continuing sexual reproduction in plants, today we'll be talking about pollination. Now, as explained earlier, the male part of a flower, that is the androecium, consists of stamens. And each stamen consists of two parts, the anther and the filament. The anther contains the pollen grains, which contains the male sex cells or the male gametes. Then we have the female part of the flower, that is the gynoecium. And gynoecium is made up of group of pistils or carpel. Each pistil has three parts: the stigma, the style, and the ovary. And inside the ovary we have ovules, which contains the female gametes. Now, what happens after this? Now, once the pollen grains are matured, it is transferred from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or another flower. So, transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or another flower is known as pollination. Now, we have two types of pollination: self-pollination and cross-pollination. So let's talk about self-pollination and cross-pollination. So suppose this is one plant and there's a flower here, and there is another flower here, another flower here, and another plant of the same type. So suppose this is rose, this is also rose. That means we are taking flowers of the same type. Now first, self-pollination, from the word itself, self. So if there is transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or different flower but of the same plant, then we call it self-pollination. So if there is transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or different flowers of the same plant, we call it self-pollination. Now, if there is transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of another flower of another plant but same type. Okay, it should be of the same type. So rose, rose, if it's orchid, then orchid, orchid. Okay. So if there is transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of another flower or another plant, then we call it cross-pollination. Now, how does cross-pollination take place? Now, pollen grains cannot walk. They don't have legs to walk. That means something helps in transferring pollen grains from one flower to another flower. They called agents of pollination. So, substance or things which help in transferring pollen grains from one flower to another flower is called agents of pollination. Now, there are different agents of pollination, but we'll be discussing about only three: insect, wind, and water. And pollination by insects is known as entomophily. Wind, anemophily, and by water, hydrophily. So, if pollination occurs by insects, we call it entomophily, wind, anemophily, and water, hydrophily. Now, what are the characteristics of a flower which is to be pollinated by insects? So, obviously, to attract insects, the flower should be large, it should be showy, it should be colorful, it should produce nectar. Then the pollen grain should be sticky so that it sticks on the body of the insect. Now the insect will move from one flower to another flower. That means the stigma should also be sticky. So flowers should be large, showy, colorful. They should produce nectar. The pollen grain should be sticky. The stigma should be sticky. And in case of all cross-pollinated flowers, pollen grains should be produced in large quantities. Okay, because there is huge wastage of pollen grains. Next one, wind, anemophily. Now what should be the characteristics of a flower to be pollinated by wind? Obviously, to attract wind, the flower need not be large. It need not produce nectar, it need not be colorful, but the pollen grains should be dry and light so that the wind can blow it off. Okay, and then the pollen grain, the anther should be hanging out so that when the wind blows, they can easily blow the pollen grains. And obviously, the stigma should also be hanging out. So when the wind is blowing, they'll carry the anther from one flower and then it will drop it to the stigma of another flower. So the pollen grains should be light and dry. The anther should be hanging out. The stigma should also be hanging out. One very easy example, or the ones which you usually see, is maize. Now, in a maize plant, it is a unisexual flower. I have already told you what is a unisexual flower. That means it contains either the androecium or the gynoecium. So in a maize plant, the flower that you see on the top is the male flower. And then the maize that you eat, hair-like structure comes out from it. It is actually the flower, the female flower. See, so when the wind blows it up, it can easily drop the pollen grains here. So the part that comes out from the corn is the female flower, and that on the top is the male flower. Then the last one, hydrophily. Now for this type of flowers also, it need not be large, it need not be showy, it need not produce nectar. But such flowers, they should produce pollen grains which are light. That means the water can easily carry it along with it. Then obviously the anther should be also hanging out, the stigma should be also hanging out. And I already told you all, for all cross-pollinated flowers, the pollen grain should be produced in huge amounts. So these are natural methods of pollination. But humans can also help in pollination. So if humans interfere in pollination or they help in pollination, we call it artificial pollination. Now, to produce beautiful flowers or to mix the characteristics of different flowers, that means to increase the quality and quantity of a plant or a flower, then artificial pollination is followed. It is also known as hybridization. Okay, and the result, that the plant that we get after hybridization is known as a hybrid. Okay, now how can humans artificially help in pollination? So suppose this is a flower, okay, and this is another flower. Now I want to mix the characteristics of these two plants. Okay, so now what do I do is, suppose this is the anther stigma. Now, first, in one flower, the stigma is covered by a polythene bag so that no agents help in pollination here. That means natural method of pollination does not take place. So the stigma is covered. Okay? And then here also it is covered. Now I want a mixture of the two. So what do I do is I remove the, or I cut off the androecium. So when I cut off the androecium from a flower artificially, the process is known as emasculation. So first what did I do? I covered the stigma so that pollination does not take place by natural method. Then the the androecium is removed. This method is known as emasculation. Now once the pollen grains of this flower matures, I'll pick it up and then I'll dust it on this. So I'll just take this anther and I'll dust the pollen grains. Thus, how did pollination take place? I'm doing it. A human being is doing it. So this method of pollination is known as artificial pollination or hybridization, and the plants that we get after hybridization is known as a hybrid. Thank you everyone for watching my video. Hope you understood what I taught you all right now, and please do like and subscribe my channel. Thank you.